Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. I think I didn't do anything wrong. Just let an old friend help me when my husband was busy. But now, I'm staring at divorce papers, my husband's signature cold and neat. I never thought sharing one moment would cost me my whole life. The apartment felt smaller when Seth was here. Not physically, he wasn't a big man, but his presence seemed to fill every corner, making the familiar walls pulse with an energy I'd forgotten existed. Ethan had been working late again, some crisis at the construction site that demanded his attention more than his wife did. "You sure you don't mind staying to help with the bookshelf?" I asked Seth, though we both knew the answer. He'd been coming around for weeks now, always with some excuse to lend a hand. Old friends do that, don't they? "Course not, Morwenna. What are friends for?" His smile was the same one that had made my heart skip in college, before life got complicated with mortgages and parent-teacher conferences. Seth Morgan had walked back into my life 3 months ago at the grocery store, his firefighter uniform making heads turn as he reached for cereal on the top shelf I couldn't manage. "Morwenna? Morwenna Davies?" The sound of my maiden name had sent an unexpected thrill through me. Now, here he was, assembling IKEA furniture while I made coffee, both of us pretending this was perfectly normal. Married women had male friends. Modern relationships were built on trust, not paranoia. "Daddy!" Chloe's voice rang out as the front door clicked shut. My 7-year-old daughter launched herself at Ethan, who caught her with practiced ease despite the exhaustion written across his face. "Hey, princess, how was school?" Ethan's eyes found mine over Chloe's head, then shifted to Seth, who was now standing awkwardly beside the half-assembled bookshelf. "Seth was helping me with the furniture," I said quickly. "You know how hopeless I am with those instruction manuals." Ethan's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "Right, thanks, Seth. I can take it from here." "No problem, man. Morwenna mentioned you've been pulling long hours." Seth's tone was friendly, but there was something underneath it. A challenge, maybe, or just confidence. "Happy to help out whenever." "I'm sure you are." Ethan's voice was level, but I caught the edge. He set Chloe down and moved toward us, his presence shifting the dynamic in the room. "Though I think we can manage our own furniture from now on." "Ethan." I touched his arm, feeling the tension in his muscles. "Don't be rude. Seth's just being neighborly." "Is he?" The question hung in the air like smoke. Seth cleared his throat. "I should head out anyway. Early shift tomorrow." He grabbed his jacket from the back of the couch. "See you around, Morwenna. Nice seeing you, Ethan." After Seth left, the apartment felt different again. Deflated somehow. Ethan stood in the kitchen doorway, watching me clean up the coffee cups with more attention than the task required. "How long has this been going on?" he asked finally. "What? Seth helping out? A few weeks. He's just being friendly, Ethan. We're old friends." "Old friends." He repeated the words like he was testing their weight. "And these friendly visits happen when, exactly?" "When you're working late, when I need help with things." I turned to face him, crossing my arms. "Are you seriously going to be jealous of Seth Morgan?" "We dated in college, Ethan. That was over a decade ago." "I'm not jealous, I'm concerned." "About what?" "About my wife spending evenings alone with her ex-boyfriend while I'm working to support our family." The accusation stung, because it was both fair and unfair. Yes, Seth was my ex. Yes, we were spending time alone. But nothing was happening. We were just reconnecting, remembering who we used to be before bills and responsibilities and the slow erosion of romance that comes with real life. "You're being paranoid," I said, turning back to the dishes, "and frankly, it's not attractive." I heard him move behind me, his reflection appearing in the kitchen window. "Maybe I am, but maybe you're giving me reason to be." That night, after Chloe was asleep and Ethan was in his office catching up on paperwork, I found myself scrolling through old photos on my phone. Seth and me at a college party, his arm around my waist, both of us young and stupid and free. Before Ethan, before marriage, before I became someone's wife and someone's mother and forgot I used to be someone else entirely. My phone buzzed. A text from Seth. "Thanks for dinner. Sorry if I made things weird with Ethan. Just want to help out a friend." I stared at the message for a long moment before typing back. "Don't worry about Ethan. He's just stressed about work." The response came quickly. "Still on for coffee tomorrow? I have something I want to talk to you about." Coffee. Just coffee. Old friends catching up over lattes and shared memories. Nothing wrong with that. "Sure," I typed. "The usual place? Can't wait." I deleted the message thread and slipped the phone into my nightstand drawer. When I looked up, Ethan was standing in the doorway, his expression unreadable. "Everything okay?" he asked. "Fine, just checking my email." He nodded slowly, but his eyes lingered on the nightstand where I'd hidden my phone. "Morwenna, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me." My heart started beating faster. "Okay. Are you happy? In our marriage, I mean. With me?" The question caught me off guard. Was I happy? I looked at my husband, really looked at him. Ethan at 35 was still handsome, still the steady, reliable man I'd fallen in love with. But when was the last time he'd made my pulse race? When was the last time we'd stayed up all night talking about dreams instead of grocery lists and mortgage payments? "Of course I'm happy," I said automatically. "Why would you ask that?" "Because lately you seem different, distant, and then Seth shows up and suddenly you're laughing again, smiling. You seem more alive when he's here than when it's just us." The observation was too close to the truth. "That's ridiculous. Seth's just a friend who reminds me of simpler times. There's nothing wrong with nostalgia." "Isn't there?" Ethan sat on the edge of the bed, his shoulders sagging. "Morwenna, I love you. I love our life together. But if you're not happy—" "I am happy." The words came out sharper than I intended. "And I don't appreciate you making me feel guilty for having a friendship. You work 60 hours a week, Ethan. You're never here. Am I supposed to sit in this apartment like a nun, waiting for you to remember you have a family?" He flinched. "That's not fair." "Isn't it? When's the last time we went on a date? When's the last time you asked about my day and actually listened to the answer? Seth listens. He cares about what I have to say." "I care. Do you? Because it feels like I'm just another item on your to-do list. Wife. Check. Daughter. Check. Now back to work." The hurt in his eyes was immediate and sharp, but I was too caught up in my own righteousness to care. Maybe I was being unfair, but the words felt good coming out, honest, like I was finally saying things I'd been thinking for months. "I'm trying to build a future for us," he said quietly. "For Chloe. This promotion is more important than your marriage, apparently." We stared at each other across the growing chasm of our bed. Finally, Ethan stood up. "I'm going to sleep in the guest room tonight. I think we both need some space." After he left, I lay in the dark, feeling vindicated and hollow at the same time. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Seth. "Hope I didn't cause problems tonight. You deserve better than someone who doesn't appreciate what he has." I stared at the message until the screen went dark, my reflection ghost-like in the black glass. In the morning, I would delete this too. But for now, I let myself imagine what it would feel like to be appreciated again. The coffee at Brennan's cafe was terrible, but it was our place now, mine and Seth's. Neutral ground where we could talk without Ethan's disapproving presence hovering over us. I'd been meeting Seth here for 2 weeks, always during my lunch break, always telling myself it was harmless. "You look tired," Seth said, sliding into the booth across from me. Even in civilian clothes, he had that firefighter confidence, the easy assurance of someone who ran toward danger while others ran away. Ethan and I had another fight. I stirred sugar into my coffee, watching the crystals dissolve. He's being impossible about our friendship. Maybe I should talk to him. Man to man. No. The word came out sharper than I intended. That would just make things worse. He's already convinced something's going on between us. Seth leaned forward, his eyes serious. Is there? Something going on, I mean. The question hung between us like a loaded gun. Was there? The butterflies I felt when he texted, the way I found myself dressing more carefully on days I knew I'd see him, the dreams I'd been having about college, dreams where I'd made different choices, followed different paths. We're friends, I said finally. Old friends catching up. Right. He sat back, but his eyes never left mine. Friends. We talked for an hour about safe things, his work at the firehouse, my job at the office, movies we'd seen, but underneath the casual conversation was a current of something else, something that made my skin feel electric and my wedding ring feel heavy. The guys at the station are having a barbecue this Saturday, Seth said as we prepared to leave. Nothing fancy, just food and drinks. You should come. I don't think Ethan would. Bring him. Bring Chloe. It's a family thing. But I was already shaking my head. The thought of Ethan and Seth in the same space, of having to manage both relationships simultaneously, felt exhausting. He's working this weekend. Big deadline. So come alone. You deserve to have fun, Morwenna. When's the last time you did something just for you? The question echoed in my head for the rest of the week. When was the last time I'd done something just for me? Before Chloe, certainly. Maybe before marriage. I'd become so focused on being a wife and mother that I'd forgotten I used to be a person with my own wants and desires. Saturday came grey and drizzly. Ethan left for the office after a tense breakfast, where we spoke only in logistics. Chloe's soccer practice, grocery lists, whose turn it was to do laundry. The domestic machinery of marriage grinding on without warmth or joy. I'm going out tonight, I announced as he gathered his papers. With some friends. He paused, his hand on his briefcase. What friends? Just people from work. We're going to dinner. The lie came easily, which should have worried me more than it did. But Ethan just nodded, already distracted by whatever crisis awaited him at the office. Don't wait up, I added. The barbecue was everything I'd hoped for and nothing I'd expected. The firehouse was warm and welcoming, full of laughter and the easy camaraderie of people who trusted each other with their lives. Seth introduced me around as his old college friend, and nobody questioned it. Nobody looked at me like I was someone's wife first and a person second. You're glowing, said Maria, one of the paramedics, as we stood by the grill. Seth's told us so much about you. Has he? I glanced over at Seth, who was deep in conversation with his captain about some upcoming training exercise. What kind of things? How smart you are. How funny. How you used to keep him in line in college. She grinned. He's had it bad for you since you reconnected. You know that, right? The word sent a thrill through me that I tried to suppress. We're just friends. Uh-huh. Maria's expression was knowing. That's what they all say. The evening stretched on, one drink becoming 2, then 3. I found myself relaxing in ways I hadn't in months, laughing at stories about firehouse pranks and near disasters. Seth stayed close, but not too close, attentive, but not possessive. He made me feel special without making me feel owned. You should come by more often, said Jake, the youngest firefighter, as the party wound down. Seth's been a lot happier since you've been around. Has he? Oh yeah. Used to be all work, no play. Now he's got the spring in his step. Good for him, you know. Guy deserves to be happy. By the time the last guest left, it was nearly midnight. I should have called a cab, should have gone home to my husband and daughter. Instead, I found myself helping Seth clean up, moving around his space like I belonged there. Thanks for coming tonight, he said, loading glasses into the dishwasher. I wasn't sure you would. Thanks for inviting me. I needed this more than I realized. Rough patch at home? I sank onto his couch, suddenly exhausted. Is it that obvious? Only to someone who's been there. Seth sat beside me, careful to maintain some distance. Marriage is hard. I should know, I failed at it twice. Twice? Jennifer in my 20s, Sarah 3 years ago. Both times I thought I was doing everything right. Both times I was wrong. What happened? With Jennifer, I was too young, too focused on my career. With Sarah... He paused, staring at his hands. With Sarah, I was still in love with someone else. The admission hung in the air between us. I should have asked who, should have changed the subject, should have called that cab. Instead, I found myself moving closer. Seth, I know you're married, Morwenna. I know you have a life, a family. I'm not trying to complicate things. Aren't you? He looked at me then, really looked at me, and I saw everything I'd been trying not to see. The want, the longing, the same regret I'd been carrying around like a stone in my chest. Maybe I am, he said softly. I don't remember who moved first. One moment we were talking, the next his hands were in my hair, and my mouth was on his, and 15 years disappeared like they'd never happened. He tasted like beer, impossibility, like the road not taken, suddenly opening up before me. We didn't have sex. I need to be clear about that, because it matters, because it's the line I didn't cross even as I crossed so many others. But we kissed like teenagers, desperate and hungry and reckless. We talked until dawn about college, about dreams, about the people we used to be and the people we might still become. When I finally made it home Sunday morning, Ethan was in the kitchen making pancakes for Chloe. He looked up when I walked in, taking in my rumpled clothes and smeared makeup. Long dinner, he said. We went dancing after. Lost track of time. Another lie, easier than the first. Dancing. He repeated the word like it was foreign. With your work friends? Yes. Chloe looked between us, her 7-year-old instincts picking up on the tension. Mommy, you look tired. Just stayed up too late, sweetheart. I kissed the top of her head, breathing in her familiar scent. Mommy was silly. That afternoon, while Ethan took Chloe to the park, I found myself posting a photo from the firehouse on social media. Just a group shot from the barbecue, nothing incriminating. But I tagged Seth and added a caption. Great night with amazing people. Sometimes you need to remember who you are outside your daily routine. The responses came quickly. Likes and comments from people I barely talk to anymore, all variations on the same theme. Good for you. You deserve to have fun, living your best life. But it was Seth's comment that made my heart race. Thanks for being part of my world. Can't wait for the next adventure. I stared at the words until they blurred, my thumb hovering over the delete button. In the end, I left it there. Let Ethan see it. Let him know that other people valued my company, even if he didn't. When my family came home from the park, Ethan's face was stone. He'd seen the post, obviously, seen the comments, seen his wife glowing with happiness in another man's world. We need to talk, he said quietly. Not now. Chloe's here. Then tonight, after she goes to bed. But tonight never came. I made excuses, stayed busy with laundry and emails, and anything that would keep us from having the conversation we both knew was coming. Because talking would mean explaining, and explaining would mean admitting things I wasn't ready to admit. Instead, I went to bed early, feigning sleep when Ethan finally came upstairs. In the darkness, I replayed every moment of the night before. Seth's laugh, his hands, the way he looked at me like I was the most interesting person in the room. My phone buzzed, a text from Seth. Thinking about you, hope you're okay. I typed back quickly, I'm fine. Last night was perfect. When can I see you again? The question should have scared me, should have made me think about my marriage, my daughter, the life I was risking for a few stolen moments of feeling alive again. Instead, I wrote, soon. I promise. This time, I didn't delete the messages. Janet Hale's dining room had always intimidated me. Not because it was fancy, though the mahogany table and crystal chandelier certainly were impressive, but because it represented everything about Ethan's family that I felt I could never quite measure up to. They were old money, quiet wealth, people who said exactly what they meant and expected others to do the same. Tonight felt different, though. Tonight, I had secrets that made me feel powerful instead of inadequate. "Morwenna, you look radiant," said Greg, Ethan's older brother, as he kissed my cheek. "Marriage agrees with you." If only he knew. "Thank you, Greg. How's the law practice?" "Busy as ever, though I hear Ethan's the one burning the midnight oil these days. This promotion has him working around the clock." I glanced at my husband, who was helping Chloe hang up her coat. "Yes, well, someone has to keep things interesting while he's buried in blueprints." Janet appeared at my elbow, her smile sharp as a blade. "And how are you keeping things interesting, dear?" There was something in her tone, a subtle emphasis that made my skin prickle. But before I could respond, Chloe was tugging on my hand, excited to show her grandmother the drawing she'd made at school. Dinner conversation flowed around the usual topics: Greg's latest cases, Janet's charity work, Chloe's upcoming school play. I found myself only half listening, my mind drifting to Seth's text from that morning. "Missing you already. When can we have another adventure?" "Morwenna," Ethan's voice cut through my reverie. "Mom asked about your new hobby." "Hobby?" Janet's eyes were fixed on me with laser intensity. "Ethan mentioned you've been going out more lately. Dancing, wasn't it?" The word hung in the air like an accusation. I felt heat rise in my cheeks but forced a laugh. "Hardly a hobby, just blowing off steam with some friends from work." "Work friends?" Janet nodded slowly. "How nice that you've found people to connect with." "Actually," I said, my voice gaining strength, "one of them is an old friend from college. Seth Morgan. He's a firefighter now. You know how it is with old friendships. Sometimes they pick up right where they left off." The silence that followed was deafening. Greg cleared his throat. Ethan's fork clinked against his plate. Chloe, oblivious to the undercurrents, kept chattering about her mashed potatoes. "A firefighter," Janet repeated. "How exciting. And this old friend, he's married as well." "Divorced, actually. Twice." I don't know why I added that detail. Maybe to show that Seth understood the complexities of relationships, that he wasn't some naive bachelor trying to break up a marriage. "He's been very helpful lately, especially when Ethan's working late." "Helpful?" Janet's voice could have cut glass. "In what way?" "Oh, you know, fixing things around the apartment, assembling furniture. Man's work." I shot a pointed look at Ethan. It's nice to have someone around who actually has time to lend a hand. Ethan's jaw tightened, but he didn't respond. Greg looked uncomfortable, clearly wishing he was anywhere else. Janet, however, leaned forward like a predator sensing weakness. "How thoughtful of him. Though I have to say, I'm surprised you need so much assistance. Ethan's always been quite handy." "When he's home, sure. But these days, it seems like work comes first. Lucky for me, some people still believe in helping their friends." "Friends?" Janet smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Yes, friendship is so important. Though I've always found it's best to be careful about the kinds of friendships we cultivate. Some can be complicated." "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing at all, dear. Just that when you're married, it's important to consider how your friendships might affect your family, your reputation." The condescension in her voice made my blood boil. "My reputation is just fine, thank you. I'm not doing anything wrong by having friends." "Of course not. Though I'm sure you understand how it might look to others. A married woman spending time with an unmarried man, especially an ex-boyfriend." "Janet." Ethan's voice was quiet but firm. "That's enough." "Is it? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like my son is being made a fool of while his wife gallivants around town with her old flame." The words hit like a slap. I felt my face burn with anger and embarrassment. "How dare you? How dare I what? Care about my son? Worry about my granddaughter? You're flaunting this affair all over social media, Morwenna. Did you think nobody would notice?" "It's not an affair." The words came out louder than I intended. Chloe looked up from her plate, her eyes wide and frightened. We're friends, just friends, and I don't appreciate being attacked in front of my daughter. Then perhaps you should have thought about your daughter before you started posting photos of yourself with another man. Enough. Ethan stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the hardwood floor. Chloe, why don't you go watch TV in Grandma's living room while the adults finish talking? Our daughter looked between us, confusion and worry etched on her small face. Are you fighting? Just having a discussion, sweetheart, I said, forcing my voice to stay calm. Go ahead. We'll be done soon. After Chloe left, the silence stretched taut as a wire. Finally, Greg spoke up. Maybe we should all take a breath here. Family dinners shouldn't turn into interrogations. Someone needs to say something, Janet snapped, since my son apparently won't stand up for himself. I can stand up for myself, Ethan said quietly. But not here. Not like this. Then where? When? While your wife is off playing house with the fire department. That's not what's happening, I protested, but even as I said it, I could hear how weak it sounded. Seth is just a friend who's been there when I needed support. Maybe if my husband paid half as much attention to me as he does to his job, I wouldn't need support from anyone else. The accusation hung in the air like smoke. Ethan's face went pale, then red. So this is my fault? I work 60 hours a week to provide for our family, and somehow that justifies you carrying on with your ex-boyfriend. I'm not carrying on with anyone. God, why does everyone assume the worst? Can't a woman have a male friend without it being some sordid affair? Not when she's sneaking around, lying about where she's been, and posting pictures that make her look like she's single. Janet shot back. I haven't lied about anything. Really? So when you told Ethan you were having dinner with work friends, Seth was there in his professional capacity as a firefighter. The question caught me off guard. How did she know about that? Had Ethan told her, or had she been monitoring my social media like some kind of detective? We did have dinner, with other people. It wasn't a lie. A lie of omission is still a lie, dear. I looked around the table, feeling cornered and defensive. Greg was studying his wine glass. Ethan was staring at his hands. Janet was watching me with the satisfaction of a cat who'd caught a particularly fat mouse. Fine, I said, standing up. You want the truth? Here it is. Yes, I've been spending time with Seth. Yes, he's an old boyfriend. And yes, I enjoy his company more than I've enjoyed anything in years. He makes me laugh. He listens when I talk. He makes me feel like I'm more than just a wife and mother and taxi driver for everyone else's dreams. The words poured out of me like water through a broken dam. You want to know what's wrong with my marriage? It's not Seth. It's the fact that my husband works 16-hour days and then comes home too tired to have a conversation. It's the fact that we haven't been on a date in 6 months. It's the fact that I feel invisible in my own life. So you decided to make yourself visible by posting pictures with another man? Janet's voice was ice cold. I decided to remind myself that I'm still a person with my own interests and friendships. If that threatens you, maybe the problem isn't with me. I grabbed my purse and headed for the door. Chloe, we're leaving. Morwenna, wait. Ethan started to follow me, but I was already helping Chloe with her coat. No, I'm done being lectured about my friendships by people who wouldn't know a healthy relationship if it bit them on the ass. The drive home was silent except for Chloe's questions from the back seat. Why was Grandma Janet mad? Are you and Daddy fighting? Why did we leave so fast? I gave her the standard adult answers. Everything was fine. Grown-ups sometimes disagreed. We were just tired. But inside, I was shaking with anger and something else. Fear, maybe, or the recognition that lines had been crossed that couldn't be uncrossed. When we got home, Ethan was 20 minutes behind us. He found me in the kitchen, stress cleaning the already clean counters. That was quite a performance, he said. Performance? I was defending myself against your mother's accusations. Were they accusations or were they observations? I turned to face him, dish towel still in my hands. What's that supposed to mean? It means maybe it's time we had an honest conversation about what's really going on here. I've been honest. Have you? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're having an emotional affair with your ex-boyfriend and getting angry at anyone who calls you on it. The words hit like a physical blow. I'm not. Then what are you doing, Morwenna? Because I'm trying to understand. I really am. But the woman I married wouldn't have humiliated me in front of my family. She wouldn't have thrown our problems in my mother's face. She wouldn't have been posting pictures with other men like she was advertising her availability. I'm not advertising anything. I'm just living my life. Are you? Or are you living some fantasy where you're 22 again and the only person you have to think about is yourself? The accusation stung because it was partially true. Being with Seth did make me feel younger, freer, less burdened by the weight of adult responsibilities, but that didn't make it wrong, did it? Maybe I am, I said defiantly. Maybe I need to remember who I was before I became Mrs. Ethan Hale and lost myself completely. And who was that exactly? Because the woman I fell in love with cared about her family. She didn't need validation from other men to feel good about herself. The woman you fell in love with also got attention from her husband. She had conversations that weren't about bills and schedules. She felt desired and appreciated and valued. So this is my fault. This is nobody's fault. This is just life, Ethan. People grow, they change, they need different things. And what do you need, Morwenna? Because I'm clearly not providing it. The question hung between us like a challenge. What did I need? I needed to feel alive again. I needed to feel wanted. I needed to remember what it was like to be the most interesting person in someone's world, instead of just another obligation to be managed. I need space, I said finally. I need you to stop treating my friendship with Seth like it's some kind of betrayal. I need you to trust me. Trust? He laughed, but there was no humor in it. You want me to trust you while you're sneaking around with your ex-boyfriend, lying about where you've been, and posting photos that make it look like you're living a single life? I haven't done anything wrong. Haven't you? The question echoed in the silence that followed. Finally, Ethan shook his head. I'm going to bed. We can continue this conversation when you're ready to be honest with yourself about what's really happening here. After he left, I stood in the kitchen feeling righteous and hollow at the same time. My phone buzzed. A text from Seth. Hope dinner with the family went okay. Thinking about you. I stared at the message, my thumb hovering over the keyboard. Finally, I typed back, family dinner was a disaster. Could use a friendly ear tomorrow if you're free. His response came immediately. Always free for you. Same place, same time. Yes, and Seth, thanks for being there for me. Always beautiful, always. I deleted the message thread and went upstairs, where I could hear Ethan in the guest room, probably calling his brother or his mother to dissect the evening's events. Let them talk. Let them judge. At least someone in this world still thought I was worth fighting for. The office felt different on Monday morning, charged with the kind of energy that comes from gossip barely contained. I could feel eyes following me as I made my way to my desk, conversation stopping mid-sentence when I passed. By lunch, I knew why. Morwenna, can I see you for a moment? Sandra, my supervisor, stood in the doorway of her office, her expression carefully neutral. I followed her inside, my stomach churning. Sandra was in her 50s, divorced twice, and generally sympathetic to the challenges of balancing work and family. If she was calling me in, it wasn't good. Have a seat. She closed the door behind us, which made my anxiety spike. I wanted to talk to you about something that's come to my attention. Okay. There's been some chatter around the office about your social media posts, specifically photos of you with a man who isn't your husband. Heat flooded my cheeks. My personal life is my own business. Normally I'd agree, but when that personal life starts affecting the work environment, it becomes my business too. Sandra sat across from me, her voice gentle but firm. People are talking, Morwenna, making assumptions, and frankly, some of the comments on your posts are Suggestive? I thought about Seth's comment on the firehouse photo, the way other people had responded to it. Had I really been that obvious? I'm not doing anything wrong. Seth is an old friend who's been helping me through a rough patch in my marriage. I'm sure that's true, but perception matters, especially in a professional environment. When you post photos of yourself looking happy and carefree with another man while complaining about your husband online, people draw conclusions. I haven't complained about Ethan online. Sandra pulled out her phone and scrolled through something. Quote, "Sometimes you need people who actually see you for who you are." That was posted after a photo of you and this Seth at what looks like a party. The implication is pretty clear. I stared at the screen, remembering the rush of vindication I'd felt when I posted those words. Now they seem petty and obvious, a neon sign advertising my marital problems. I was just expressing gratitude for friendship. I understand, but Morwenna, you need to be careful. This kind of thing can affect your reputation, your career. People are already whispering about whether you can be trusted with confidential information if you can't be trusted in your marriage. The unfairness of it hit me like a slap. That's ridiculous. My personal relationships have nothing to do with my professional integrity. You and I know that, but not everyone thinks that way. Sandra leaned forward, her expression softening. Look, I like you. You're good at your job, reliable, smart. But you're playing with fire here. If this situation escalates, if there are more rumors or drama, I might not be able to protect you. I left Sandra's office feeling humiliated and defiant in equal measure. How dare they judge me for having a friend? How dare they assume the worst about my character, based on a few innocent photos? At lunch, I met Seth at our usual cafe, my emotions raw and volatile. "You look upset," he said, sliding into the booth across from me. "Work drama. People have too much time on their hands and not enough real problems to worry about." "Want to talk about it?" And suddenly I did. I told him about Sandra's warning, about the gossip, about feeling like I was under a microscope for the crime of being happy in someone's company. Seth listened with the focused attention I'd been craving from Ethan for months. "That's bullshit," he said when I finished. "You're allowed to have friends. You're allowed to be happy. Try telling that to my husband, or my mother-in-law, or apparently my entire office. Maybe the problem isn't you. Maybe the problem is that you're surrounded by people who want to keep you small and manageable." The words resonated with something deep inside me, a frustration I'd been carrying for years without fully acknowledging it. Was that what was happening? Was I being kept small? "I posted something this morning," I said, pulling out my phone. "Want to see?" I showed him my latest Facebook post. Grateful for the people in my life who support my happiness instead of trying to dim my light. Real friends celebrate your joy. They don't try to shame you for it. Or living my best life. No regrets, Danish authentic self. Seth grinned. "Good for you. Don't let them make you feel guilty for being yourself." "Ethan's going to hate it." "Let him. Maybe it's time he realized what he's been taking for granted." That afternoon, the post exploded with likes and comments. Old friends from college, acquaintances from Chloe's school, even a few co-workers chimed in with support. "You go, girl. Living for this energy. Some people just can't handle strong women." But it was the private messages that really caught my attention. 3 different women reached out to share their own stories of marriages that had grown stale, husbands who took them for granted, the slow erosion of identity that came with putting everyone else's needs first. "I've been where you are," wrote Lisa, a mum from Chloe's class. "The judgment is hard, but you have to do what's right for you. Life's too short to be miserable." For the first time in months, I felt like I wasn't alone. Like maybe my feelings were valid, my choices defensible. Maybe the problem wasn't me after all. That evening, Ethan was waiting when I got home from work. He was sitting at the kitchen table with his laptop open, but I could tell he hadn't been working. "Interesting post today," he said without looking up. "Which one?" "The one about people trying to dim your light," very subtle. I set my purse down and faced him. If you have something to say, just say it. Fine. I think you're having a public breakdown and using social media to justify it. I think you're embarrassing yourself and our family with these posts about living your best life while you're married to someone else. I'm not embarrassing anyone. I'm just refusing to be ashamed of having friends and being happy. Happy. He finally looked at me, and I was surprised by the pain in his eyes. Is that what this is? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're trying to convince everyone, including yourself, that you're the victim in this situation. Maybe I am the victim. Maybe I'm tired of being made to feel guilty for wanting more than just existing. More than our marriage, you mean? More than a marriage where I feel invisible and unappreciated, yes. So you decided to make yourself visible by flirting with your ex-boyfriend on social media. I'm not flirting. Aren't you? Because I've read the comments, Morwenna. I've seen the way he responds to your posts, the way you respond to his. If that's not flirting, what is it? I felt cornered, defensive. It's friendship. It's someone actually paying attention to me for once. I pay attention to you. Do you? When? Between work and sleep and whatever crisis is happening at the construction site? I'm working for us, for our future. No, you're working because it's easier than dealing with the fact that our marriage is falling apart. The words hung in the air between us like a confession. Ethan's face went very still. Is that what you think? That I'm avoiding you? I think you've gotten so comfortable with me being there that you forgot I might need something more than just being taken for granted. And Seth gives you that something more. It wasn't a question, and I didn't treat it like one. Seth makes me feel like I matter, like my thoughts and feelings are important, like I'm worth spending time with. And I don't. Not lately, no. The honesty felt brutal and liberating at the same time. Finally, we were talking about the real issues instead of dancing around them. So what do you want from me, Morwenna? What would it take to fix this? The question should have been an opening, a chance to work together toward a solution. Instead, it felt like too little, too late. I want you to understand that I'm not the villain here. I want you to stop treating my friendship with Seth like it's some kind of betrayal. I want you to trust me. I want to trust you. But you're making it really hard when you're posting things that make it sound like you're looking for a way out of our marriage. Maybe I am. The words slipped out before I could stop them. Ethan's face went pale. What did you just say? I don't know. I'm confused, okay? I'm trying to figure out what I want, what makes me happy. And you think Seth makes you happy. I think Seth reminds me of who I used to be, before I got lost in being someone's wife and someone's mother. Being my wife and Chloe's mother isn't enough for you. It should be. I know it should be. But it's not, and I don't know what that makes me. Ethan closed his laptop with deliberate care. It makes you someone I don't recognize anymore. He stood up and headed for the door. I'm going to stay at Greg's tonight. I need some time to think about what you just said. Ethan, wait. But he was already gone, leaving me alone with the weight of my own words. My phone buzzed almost immediately. A text from Seth. Saw your post today. Proud of you for standing up for yourself. Want to talk about it? I stared at the message, my marriage crumbling around me, and Seth offering comfort in the ruins. It should have felt wrong. Instead, it felt like the only honest thing in my life. Yes, I typed back. I really need a friend right now. Always here for you, beautiful. Always. This time, I didn't even consider deleting the messages. The lawyer's business card was cream-colored and expensive-looking, with Greg's firm logo embossed in navy blue. I found it on the kitchen counter Tuesday morning, propped against the coffee maker like a declaration of war. My hands shook as I read the note attached in Ethan's careful handwriting. I think we both know where this is heading. Call me when you're ready to discuss terms. E. Terms. Like our 8-year marriage was a business contract being dissolved. I called in sick to work and spent the morning pacing the apartment, alternating between rage and panic. How dare he threaten me with lawyers? How dare he make this about legal proceedings when we should be working on our problems like adults? By noon, I'd convinced myself that Ethan was bluffing, trying to scare me into ending my friendship with Seth. It was a power play, nothing more. He'd be back by evening, ready to talk reasonably about our issues. I was wrong. At 3 o'clock, there was a knock at the door. I opened it, expecting to see a delivery driver, or maybe one of the neighbors. Instead, I found myself face to face with a woman in a business suit holding a manila envelope. "Morwenna Hale?" "Yes." "You've been served." She handed me the envelope and walked away before I could respond. Inside were divorce papers, real ones, with official seals and legal language that made my head spin. Petition for dissolution of marriage, irreconcilable differences, request for primary custody of minor child. Primary custody. He was trying to take Chloe away from me. I called Ethan immediately, my hands shaking so badly I could barely dial. "You had me served," I said as soon as he answered. "You had me fucking served with divorce papers? Lower your voice, I'm at work." "I don't care where you are. How could you do this without even talking to me first?" "I tried talking to you, multiple times. You made it clear that you're not interested in working on our marriage." "That's not true, isn't it? Because last night you told me you might be looking for a way out. Well, congratulations, I found one for you." The coldness in his voice was like a slap. This wasn't the man I'd married, the one who used to leave me love notes in my lunch bag. This was a stranger, and he was destroying my life with the same methodical precision he brought to construction projects. "Ethan, please. We can work this out. I was upset last night. I said things I didn't mean." "Did you?" "Because it sounded like the most honest you've been in months." "I don't want a divorce." "Then you should have thought about that before you started an affair." "I'm not having an affair." "Emotional affair, physical affair. Does it really matter? You've checked out of our marriage, Morwenna. You've been checking out for months. I'm just making it official." The line went dead. I tried calling back, but it went straight to voicemail. I spent the rest of the afternoon reading and rereading the divorce papers, trying to understand the legal language that was dismantling my life. Ethan was asking for primary custody based on plaintiff's inappropriate relationship with a third party and behavior detrimental to the minor child's well-being. Behavior detrimental to Chloe's well-being. Like having a friend was somehow damaging to my daughter. When Chloe came home from school, I tried to act normal, but she picked up on my distress immediately. "Mommy, why are you crying?" "I'm not crying, sweetheart, just tired." "Where's Daddy? He didn't come home last night." "He's staying with Uncle Greg for a few days. Sometimes grown-ups need space to think about things." "Are you getting divorced?" The question hit me like a physical blow. "Why would you ask that?" "Because Jenny Morrison's parents got divorced, and first her dad moved out, and then there were lots of papers and lawyers and crying." I knelt down to her level, trying to keep my voice steady. "Daddy and I are having some problems right now, but we're trying to work them out." "Is it because of Seth?" My blood ran cold. "What do you mean?" "I heard you and Daddy fighting about Seth, and Grandma Janet was mad about him too." "Is Seth why Daddy moved out?" How do you explain to a 7-year-old that relationships are complicated, that sometimes people grow apart, that her mother has been desperately trying to remember who she is outside of being a wife and mother? How do you tell her that you might have destroyed your family in the process? "It's not about Seth, baby. It's about Mommy and Daddy needing to figure some things out." But even as I said it, I knew it wasn't entirely true. Seth wasn't the cause of our problems, but he'd certainly become the symbol of them. That evening, after Chloe was asleep, I called the one person I knew would understand. "Morwenna, what's wrong?" Seth's voice was immediately concerned. "Ethan filed for divorce. He had me served with papers today." "Jesus, are you okay?" "No, I'm not okay. He's trying to take Chloe away from me. He's claiming that my friendship with you is somehow harmful to her." "That's bullshit. You're a great mother." "Am I? Because right now, I feel like I've destroyed everything good in my life for what? For a few stolen moments of feeling appreciated. Hey, don't do that. Don't let him make you feel guilty for being happy. But what if he's right? What if I have been selfish? What if I've been so focused on what I wasn't getting from my marriage that I forgot about what I was risking? Morwenna, listen to me. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to be with someone who values you, who sees you, who makes you feel alive. If Ethan can't be that person, then maybe this divorce is a blessing in disguise. The words should have been comforting, but instead they made me feel hollow. Was that what I wanted? To blow up my family for the possibility of something better with Seth? I need to see you, I said. Can you come over? Is that a good idea, with the legal stuff happening? I don't care about the legal stuff. I need someone who's on my side right now. There was a pause. I'll be right there. Seth arrived 20 minutes later with a bottle of wine and a bag of takeout from my favorite Thai restaurant. Simple gestures, but they made me feel cared for in a way I hadn't experienced in months. You didn't have to do all this, I said, but I was already opening the wine. I wanted to. You're going through hell right now. The least I can do is make sure you eat something. We sat on the couch, eating pad thai and drinking wine, and for a moment it felt almost normal. Like we were a couple dealing with everyday problems, instead of two people whose friendship had somehow become the catalyst for destroying a marriage. Can I ask you something? I said after my second glass of wine. Anything. When you said I deserve to be with someone who values me, did you mean someone in general, or did you mean you specifically? Seth set down his wine glass and looked at me with an intensity that made my heart race. I think you know the answer to that. I need to hear you say it. I've been in love with you since college, Morwenna. When I saw you at the grocery store 3 months ago, it all came rushing back. The way you laugh, the way you think, the way you make everything brighter just by being there. I tried to stay away, tried to just be your friend, but watching you in that marriage, seeing how he takes you for granted, it kills me. You deserve so much more than what he's giving you. The confession hung between us like a bridge I could either cross or burn. Part of me wanted to fall into his arms, to let him make all the pain and confusion disappear. But another part of me, the part that was still Chloe's mother, still the woman who'd once loved Ethan enough to promise him forever, held back. Seth, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Greg Hale. Ethan asked me to let you know that he'll be by tomorrow at 2 p.m. to collect some of his things. Please have them ready. The message was like a bucket of cold water. While I was here drinking wine with Seth, Ethan was already moving forward with dismantling our life together. I have to go, Seth said, reading my expression. This is too much, too fast. No, don't go. Please, I can't be alone right now. Morwenna, he reached for my hand. I care about you too much to take advantage of you when you're vulnerable like this. When you're ready, really ready to move forward, I'll be here. But not like this. Not when you're just trying to escape the pain. After he left, I sat in the dark apartment surrounded by the detritus of our evening. Empty takeout containers, wine glasses, the divorce papers scattered across the coffee table like fallen leaves. My phone rang. Ethan. I know Seth was there, he said without preamble. My blood turned to ice. How? I had Greg drive by to check on Chloe. He saw the car in our parking lot. A car registered to Seth Morgan, in case you're wondering how I know. Ethan, it wasn't what you think. Wasn't it? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like my wife is already playing house with her boyfriend while our daughter sleeps down the hall. He brought me dinner. I was upset about the divorce papers. So you called him, not a friend, not a family member, not a therapist. You called the man you've been having an affair with. I'm not having an affair. Keep telling yourself that, Morwenna. Maybe eventually you'll believe it. But I'm done pretending this is anything other than what it is. What is it then? Tell me what you think is happening here. I think you fell back in love with your college boyfriend and decided to blow up our family rather than do the hard work of fixing our marriage. I think you've been lying to yourself and everyone else about what this really is. And I think our daughter deserves better than a mother who puts her own happiness ahead of her family's stability." The words cut deep because they contained just enough truth to hurt. Had I been putting my own happiness first? Had I been so focused on feeling alive again that I'd forgotten about the collateral damage? "I never wanted this to happen," I whispered. "But it did happen, and now we all have to live with the consequences." The next day, I watched from the bedroom window as Ethan loaded boxes into his truck. 8 years of marriage reduced to a few containers of clothes and personal items. He moved with mechanical efficiency, like he was clearing out a storage unit instead of dismantling the home we'd built together. When he was finished, he came upstairs to say goodbye to Chloe. I listened from the hallway as he promised to see her soon, as she cried and begged him not to go, as he explained in age-appropriate terms that sometimes mommies and daddies need to live in different places, but that doesn't mean they love their little girls any less. After he left, Chloe crawled into bed with me, and we both cried. Her because she didn't understand why her family was falling apart. Me because I understood all too well. That night, I deleted all my social media accounts. The posts about living my best life and not letting people dim my light seemed obscene now, relics of a woman who thought she could have everything without paying the price. But it was too late. The receipts were already on the table, and the bill was coming due. The family courtroom smelled like industrial disinfectant and broken dreams. I sat at the defendant's table. When had I become the defendant in my own life? Watching Ethan confer quietly with his lawyer. Greg had recommended someone good, apparently, someone who specialized in cases involving adultery and custody disputes. My own lawyer, a tired-looking woman named Patricia Chen, shuffled through papers with the air of someone who'd seen this story 1,000 times before. "Remember what we discussed," she murmured. "Stay calm, stick to the facts, don't let them bait you into emotional outbursts." Easier said than done. Across the courtroom, I could see Janet Hale in the gallery, her face a mask of righteous vindication. She'd waited years for proof that I wasn't good enough for her son, and now she had it in legal documents and sworn statements. All rise for the Honorable Judge Maria Santos. Judge Santos was younger than I'd expected, maybe 45, with steel-grey hair and the no-nonsense demeanor of someone who'd spent years sorting through the wreckage of failed marriages. She took her seat and surveyed the courtroom with eyes that missed nothing. "This is the matter of Hale versus Hale, case number 2024 DR 4782. Petition for dissolution of marriage with minor child involved." Her voice was crisp, professional. "Counselors, are you ready to proceed?" What followed was the systematic dissection of my life, presented as evidence in a legal proceeding. Ethan's lawyer, a sharp-dressed man named David Morrison, laid out their case with surgical precision. "Your Honor, the respondent has engaged in a pattern of behavior that demonstrates a fundamental breach of the marital contract and behavior detrimental to the minor child's well-being." He presented exhibits like a prosecutor building a case for murder. Screenshots of my social media posts, printed in stark black and white, stripped of context and nuance. The photo from the firehouse barbecue became Exhibit A, evidence of my public flaunting of an extramarital relationship. Note the respondent's body language in this photo, Your Honor. The intimate positioning with Mr. Morgan, the obvious comfort and familiarity between them. I wanted to scream that it was just a group photo, that everyone was standing close together, that reading intimacy into body language was subjective at best. But Patricia had warned me to stay quiet unless asked to speak. The text messages came next. Somehow, Ethan had gotten access to my phone records, and Morrison read selected exchanges between Seth and me like they were love letters. "Thanks for being there for me," he read in a mocking tone. "I really need a friend right now." And Mr. Morgan's response, "Always here for you, beautiful. Always." Hearing our private conversations dissected in open court felt like being stripped naked in public. The judge took notes, her expression unreadable. The respondent has also engaged in what can only be described as a campaign of public humiliation against my client, Morrison continued. Social media posts that mock her husband's work ethic, that celebrate her authentic self in opposition to her role as wife and mother. He read my posts about living my best life and not letting people dim my light, and in the sterile environment of the courtroom, they sounded petty and vindictive. The woman who'd written those words seemed like a stranger to me now, someone reckless and selfish who'd confused freedom with destruction. When it was Patricia's turn, she did her best with a weak hand. Your Honor, my client has been married for 8 years to a man who, by his own admission, works 60 hours a week. She felt neglected, isolated, and yes, she sought friendship and emotional support elsewhere. But seeking support is not the same as having an affair. She presented her own exhibits, Ethan's work schedules showing his long hours, testimony from Chloe's teachers about what a devoted mother I was, character references from neighbors and friends. But it all felt hollow compared to Morrison's presentation. The facts were the facts. I'd been spending time with my ex-boyfriend, lying about it to my husband, and posting about it on social media like a teenager seeking validation. I'd like to call Morwenna Hale to the stand, Patricia said finally. The walk to the witness stand felt like a death march. I could feel every eye in the courtroom on me. Ethan's cold stare, Janet's satisfied smirk, the judge's analytical assessment. Patricia walked me through the basics first. How long I'd been married, my role as Chloe's primary caregiver, my work history. Safe territory, designed to establish me as a responsible adult and devoted mother. Can you tell the court about the state of your marriage in the months leading up to your reunion with Mr. Morgan? I took a breath, trying to find words that would convey the slow erosion of intimacy without sounding like I was making excuses. Ethan and I had grown apart. He was working very long hours on a project that he hoped would lead to a promotion. We barely saw each other, and when we did, we were both exhausted. We'd stopped communicating about anything other than logistics, schedules, bills, Chloe's activities. And how did that make you feel? Invisible, like I was just another item on his to-do list. I felt like I was disappearing into my roles as wife and mother, losing track of who I was as a person. Is that when you reconnected with Mr. Morgan? Yes, I ran into him at the grocery store. He remembered me, not as Ethan's wife or Chloe's mother, but as Morwenna. He was interested in my thoughts, my feelings. He made me feel seen again. Did you have a physical relationship with Mr. Morgan? The question I'd been dreading. No. We kissed once, but that's all. We were friends. He was someone I could talk to. But you understand how your husband might have been concerned about this friendship. I understand that Ethan felt threatened, but I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was just trying to remember who I was outside of my marriage. Morrison's cross-examination was brutal. He came at me like a shark sensing blood in the water. Mrs. Hale, you testified that you kissed Mr. Morgan once. When did this occur? The night of the firehouse barbecue. The night you told your husband you were having dinner with work friends. Yes, but... So you lied to your husband about where you were going and who you'd be with, and then you engaged in physical intimacy with another man. Is that correct? It wasn't like that. Please answer the question. Did you lie to your husband and then kiss another man? Yes, but you're making it sound... I'm making it sound like what it was, Mrs. Hale. An affair. The word hung in the courtroom like a condemnation. I felt my face burn with shame and anger. It was one kiss, one moment of weakness. How many moments of weakness does it take to constitute an affair, in your opinion? Patricia objected, but the damage was done. Morrison had painted me as an unfaithful wife who'd lied to her husband and betrayed her family for a moment of selfish pleasure. When Ethan took the stand, he was calm and measured, the picture of a wronged husband seeking justice. He testified about my changed behavior, my secretiveness, the way I'd started pulling away from our family. I tried to talk to her about it, he said, his voice steady but pained. I asked her directly if she was having an affair. She denied it, but the evidence was right there on social media for everyone to see. How did this situation affect your daughter? Morrison asked. Chloe became withdrawn, anxious. She started having nightmares. Her teacher called to express concern about changes in her behavior at school. She knew something was wrong at home, even if she didn't understand what. The message was clear. My selfish choices had hurt my child. In court, Seth admitted the kiss, and my mother-in-law painted me as someone who mocked my husband and confused our daughter. By the time the judge ruled, the damage was done. My marriage was declared broken. Ethan got primary custody, and I was given supervised visits. They called me a danger to my own child. Outside the courtroom, Ethan said he never wanted this, only stability for Chloe. But he also said I'd chosen Seth over our family. In walking away, he left no doubt about the consequences. That night, alone in the apartment I'd soon lose, Seth texted that we could still build a life together. His words felt empty. What was the point if it cost me my daughter? I deleted his number, poured a glass of wine, and stared at the divorce papers. I finally understood what I had done. One kiss, one lie, one attempt to feel alive again, and the bridge back home was gone forever.